to the Spirit Podcast.
There are lines you can see and lines you can't. Some are etched in soil, others in soul. They call them borders, but they behave like spells. A wall of chain link, a thread of blood, a deed in a drawer, a forgotten whisper that still owns the land. You may think the world is run by those in office, but power flows not from the visible thrones. It pulses through the buried grid. And there are those who guard it. Gridkeepers, silent watchers, ritual holders, line binders. They don't post online. They post centuries in spirit. In this episode, we go beneath the geopolitical stage to explore the ancient bloodlines, broken treaties, and metaphysical boundaries that dictate who gets to live, build, or vanish. This is about ancestral wiring. This is about ritual misuse. This is about why your body aches on certain land and why your dreams reroute in others. The line barons drew the maps. The grid keepers keep them humming. And the hum is not always holy. Let's go deeper. They taught you that borders are about politics. Lines drawn by men in suits after wars, treaties, or revolutions. But beneath the paperwork lies something older, something not written but sung, something not voted on but sealed. Before there were nations, there were regions of resonance, places where spirit clung thick to the air, where waters remembered names, where mountains acted as spires between realms. Every culture has stories of these sacred places, ley lines, dragon lines, song lines, spirit paths, and every culture had those who knew how to listen for them or corrupt them. That's the part we're not told. You see, the lines weren't just mapped, they were locked through burial rites, through bloodline agreements, through trauma cycles reenacted on loop. Every massacre, every erasure, every relocation of a people was also a spell, not just a crime of history, but a recalibration of power. And the ones who sealed it are often still here, or their descendants are, in government, real estate, in rituals held behind blacked out windows. They don't need to live on the land anymore. They just need to own the line. And somewhere deep down, you felt it, haven't you? The shift in pressure when you cross a county line, the sickness that starts after a move, even though nothing else changed, the way your childhood home still calls to you in dreams. These are not coincidences. These are coordinates. Boundaries are not just human. They are spiritual, energetic, and when manipulated, they manipulate us back. We've just begun to trace them. There's a secret buried beneath all the ancestry kits, genealogy websites, and archives being digitized. It's not just about heritage, it's about access. See, your blood is a signature, not metaphorically, energetically. You are a walking transmission tower of everything you've ever been and everything your line has ever done. And certain lines, they were groomed like weapons, not just to pass wealth or land, but to anchor programs. Bloodline-based permissions, codes that can open or shut portals, technology of memory, gatekeeping, and spiritual binding. Some families were taught to forget. Others were trained to preserve. You think it's strange that the same names show up on both sides of every war? Or that world leaders all come from a handful of bloodlines? That's not coincidence. It's technology. A sacred firewall built from unbroken chains, not to protect the people, but to protect the line. And those outside those lines, they're the uninitiated, the expendables, the ones offered to the lines like tithes. And here's where it gets even darker, because in the hands of the corrupted, blood becomes a currency, not just metaphorically, literally. Rituals, medical harvest, psychic siphoning. They're all transactions. Blood is not just life, it's language. It speaks. And the earth remembers every drop. There are places you feel you cannot leave, not because of money, not because of family, but because something binds you there. A pull, a watchful tether, like the land itself has your name in its ledger. This isn't imagination, it's geo-spiritual containment. Old lines, ley lines, property lines, bloodlines, all intersect. And where they cross, the old magics hum. They hum with memory. They hum with command. We talk a lot about spiritual awakening, but what happens when the land you stand on doesn't allow it? What happens when every exit is blocked? This is what the ancients knew, why sacred land wasn't just protected, it was coded. Where you were born wasn't just where your body arrived. It was where your soul contract was keyed into place. And if the stewards of that land were corrupted or replaced, that contract was altered. They fenced your freedom in with stones and oaths, and they mapped your exit routes, so if you ever remembered who you were, they could intercept you before you escaped. That's why some of you have tried to move, start fresh, go west, go home, and still feel caged, because the prison is written in the land. But here's the code breaker. Your soul isn't from the fence. It's from the field beyond it. And no matter how many stones they stack, they cannot hold what's already moving. Well, I've got you here. Every Friday, I post a YouTube-only series called The Beyond Files, where I dive into some of the strangest clips from the internet. Haunted hospitals, time traveler glitches, cursed objects, the usual. But if you're looking for something deeper, something encoded just for the ones walking the flame-lit path, I've launched The Signal Path. It's a private tier over on Coffee, where I share short, powerful weekly audio transmissions. These are the recordings I don't post anywhere else. They're raw, sacred, and just $5 a month to unlock. So if you want to go deeper with me, head to the link in the description or visit coffee.com/tothespirit. Thanks for listening, and thank you for walking this path with me. Some of the old souls you pass in this life aren't watchers. They're not flame keepers or bridges or barons. They're grid keepers. Quiet, resolute, rare. Their task isn't to warn, it's to maintain, to hold the alignment of sacred memory through geospatial time. They do not move lightly. Every step is a key. Every path they walk reactivates something forgotten. But here's the catch. The grid was hijacked, bent, distorted, warped by line barons and false kings. So the grid keepers began locking memory beneath the distortion, not to hide it from you, but to preserve it until you were strong enough to carry it. These are the memory locks. Have you ever stood on a patch of earth, no plaque, no grave, and burst into tears? Have you ever driven through a town you've never seen but somehow knew? That's a memory lock opening. The land remembers you. It's trying to remind you before the system reboots. Because what comes next is not a battle of weapons. It's a battle of coordinates and recall. Not all the ancient lines were broken by force. Some were willingly severed to survive, to shield the next, to scatter the seeds beyond the grasp of corrupted kings. This act, this severing, was both sacrifice and strategy. The grid was once living. It pulsed with resonance, with story, with soul path. But when the distortion spread and the barons took control, some grid points collapsed inward, and others, they went silent. And yet, beneath the silence, something remained: the memory, the code, the resonance, waiting. The return of the grid keeper is never a loud thing. It's a quiet footstep at dusk, a hand brushing bark on a tree that once watched the stars fall, a whisper in a dialect you don't remember learning. It's a magnet pulling back to places that no longer bear your name, but still remember your walk. To return is not just to remember, it's to reactivate with intention, with integrity, with love. You are not just reclaiming a story, you are realigning the signal. The ruins are not empty, they are listening. They are holding the echoes until someone dares to speak back. The work of the grid keeper is not to restore the past exactly as it was. It is to reweave the sacred into the present, to listen for what still hums beneath the concrete, to feel what roots still stir beneath parking lots and pylons, to ask, what was this land before it was named by power? What story did it sing before it was buried in asphalt and deed? We rebuild through ritual, not replication, by walking gently, by asking permission, by leaving offerings, not for appeasement, for connection, by standing where the ley lines once burned bright and choosing to light the lantern again, one act of reverence at a time. This is not about claiming land, it's about witnessing it back into balance, even if it takes a generation, even if no one sees you do it. Every altar, every story remembered, every child taught to listen to the stones, it all rebuilds. Not all will take kindly to the return of the grid keepers. Those who have built empires atop the cracked grid will feel the pressure of rearrangement. They will clutch at their blueprints, their patents, their paper-thin crowns. But the earth does not care for those titles. It remembers who stood with it when the silence fell. The reckoning is not vengeance, it's alignment. It is the moment when every false king hears the drumbeat they cannot drown out, the rising pulse of the ground, the reclaiming itself. The technologies built to cage will short. The walls that divided will sweat and crumble. The contracts signed in bloodless ink will be ash in the wind. And those who kept watch, those who walked the lines even when they were buried, will know it was not for nothing. They will be called not to war, but to witness, to anchor, to bless, to stand still as the storm reveals who never had roots at all. The grid keeper does not seize power. They remember what it was for. And in that remembrance, the current runs true again. You feel it, don't you? That pressure at the edge of sleep, that tension in your chest when you cross a certain street, the way a place you used to love now leaves you aching. The lines are leaking because too many opened doors without knowing how to close them, because the temples were sold and the tombs were emptied, because every ghost town now streams on Wi-Fi. The watchers see the tears in the web. The dream walkers see the false paths etched in mirrored glass. But the grid keepers, you walk it, you stitch it, not with thread, but with presence. Every time you pause where others rush, every time you say the old names aloud, every time you whisper, not here. When something tries to crawl through a broken place, you are sealing what was torn, and you are not alone. Not all grids are visible. Some hum in the soil, old as the bones beneath your feet. Some are woven between people, those who carry the same flame scattered across the map like stars. When one of you remembers, the others flicker awake. When one of you crosses a threshold, the pulse ripples outward. That's why the system works so hard to make you feel alone, because a grid keeper who thinks they're isolated might never send the signal, but you just did. You're doing it now. Every time you listen, every time you act, you are the buried wire. You are the encoded song. You are the boundary and the blessing. The old lines are fraying because they were drawn with conquest, not care. But new maps are being made, not in ink, not on GPS, but in resonance, in footfall, in lantern light, in the quiet courage of those remembering what it means to belong without owning. You are not here to redraw their boundaries. You are here to unspell them. Walk the land with clean intention. Sit with stone, with bark, with bone. Ask the land what it remembers and what it's ready to forget. Make offerings without needing answers. Listen for the hum beneath the hum. These are the new maps. They will not be handed to you. You will walk them into being, and the earth will respond. You, Gridkeeper, you're not here to join the spectacle. You're here to remember the shape of the sacred before they pave over the memory. You're not here to chase status in the new digital priesthood or sell secrets like trinkets to the highest bidder. You are the line they cannot cross. You are the reason they try. The time of passive witnessing is over. You're not just meant to see what's wrong. You're meant to stand at crossroads and decide who gets to pass through. Your bones remember the old gates, the ones the barons tried to erase. So dust off your tools, redraw the boundary lines, tend the land beneath your feet, speak the names that echo in your bloodline. You don't need permission. You are the permission. Let them call you strange. Let them say you're too intense, you're too awake, you're too much. That's the sound a gate makes when it refuses to open. Gridkeepers, this is your pulse. This is your sign. The lines are glowing again, and this time we're not drawing them in chalk. We're carving them in flame.